A to C to B is 43 degrees that you can see in your diagram. You've got to work out the length A to X, which is the distance from here to here, and you must show you're working out for 6 marks. Now the key facts you're going to need are that angles in a triangle add up to 180. So we've been given 2 angles in this big triangle. You could work out the third angle here to work out angles in a triangle added up to 180. You will also need to use the sine rule, where you've got little a over sine capital A equals little b over sine capital B, where the little a and the little b are the sides. So these are sides on your non-right angle triangle, and the capital A and the capital B are angles. So they could be any of the angles that are given on the opposite pair. Then we're also going to need some trigonometry. So it could be so, cat or toa. So you've got to identify which one it is, so, cat or toa, when you're looking at the right angle triangle here to help us work out this length. So I've just picked the first one here for so, S-O-H. Remember the one that's in the middle goes at the top. This line between here means divide, and the one between S and H means multiply. Now, you need to cover up the one that you're looking for. So if I wanted to find the opposite, I'm left with an S and a H, and this line here means multiply. So this means sine of the angle times by the hypotenuse, or I can write the opposite as the hypotenuse times sine of the angle. It doesn't matter which order you do that in. So you're going to have to identify which one of these formulas it is. There are actually 9 formulas across the so, cat and toa, 3 for each of them, depending on whether you want to find an opposite, a hypotenuse, the angle, or the adjacent. You've got to determine which one you need to use. Now press pause, draw out the diagram, make sure you've labelled up which bits you want to find, and you've shown you're working nice and clearly to get the 6 marks. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. So, first of all, we're going to look at working out this angle here, y. Because if I work out this angle here, y, I can then use the sine rule because I've got an angle and I've got a side, and I've got an angle and I've got a side, which means I've got a side and an angle within this right angle triangle, which then means I can use trigonometry. So ultimately, we want to work out the length A to C. So, to help us do that, okay, we're first of all going to look at angles in a triangle. So 32 plus 43 plus my y is going to equal to 180 degrees. So to get y on its own, I need to do the opposite to plus 32, which is take away 32, and the opposite to plus 43, which is take away 43. From here, you can type this in your calculator, and y will be 105 degrees. So this angle at the top is going to be 105 degrees. From here, I'm going to use the sine rule. So the side, which is what I require, okay, is going to be little a. So this is the side I'm requiring to find. So this is going to be little a divided by sine of the capital A, which is going to be the angle. So these come as pairs opposite each other. So here's little a, here's capital A. Then the other 2 pair I know are these ones here. So it's going to be the length, which is 7.5, divided by sine of the angle, which we know is 105. And if you wrote this, we get our second mark. So the first mark was identifying 105 for this top angle. Second mark for using the sine rule with the values that you've got. We then need to get rid of this divide by sine 32. So the opposite to divide by sine 32 is multiply. So A is going to be 7.5 divided by sine of 105 times by sine 32 for your third mark. You then just need to type this in on your calculator. This is a calculator question. So literally type these values in on your calculator and you will find you get 4.114 and the numbers carry on. And this is for your 4th mark. You will need to use the entire of this value here when we're going to be using the trigonometry in a minute to work out the distance A to X. So far we have got 4 out of 6 marks. Now we're now going to be looking at this right angle triangle here between A, X and C. We know the length from A to C. We know the angle in between here is 43 and we want to work out this side here. So we know the side that is opposite the right angle is always called the hypotenuse. We want to find this side here from A to X, and this is opposite the angle that has been given, so this is called the opposite. If you look over here, we've got so, cat or toa. So the one that uses the opposite and the hypotenuse is the first one here for sine. So we're using SO, and you can see this triangle here has been drawn out for us. Now I want to find the opposite. So you cover up the opposite and you're left with S times by H, which means sine of the angle times your hypotenuse, or you could write it as hypotenuse times sine of the angle. The reason I write it this way round is because when you type it in on your calculator, you get a bracket appear, and then you could get a second bracket, and it gets a bit confusing with the brackets with the calculator. So if you've written the hypotenuse first, it means exactly the same thing. So from here, we've got to put the values into the formula. So the opposite is going to be a to x, is going to be my hypotenuse, which is the length a, which is 4.114. Remember, don't round that value. And then times by sine of the angle, which is given, which is sine of 43. And this is your fifth mark. From here, we literally just need to type this in the calculator. So you should press the answer button, times by sine of 43, press equals, and you get 2.8 for your sixth and final mark. Remember, always write your answer on the dotted line to make sure your answer is nice and clear. And remember to mark your answer and tick to show where the 6 marks were awarded for this question, to show how many marks you would have got on this question. The mark scheme of this question shows there are 6 marks. M1 stands for 1 method mark. M2 stands for 2 method marks. OE means or equivalent. A1 means 1 answer mark. SC3 means if you've got an answer of 2.8 to 2.81, which is the final answer, with no or insufficient working, you get a maximum of 3 marks because the question said you must show your working out. If you've got an answer of 4.11 or 4.115, you will get 2 marks, so SC2 means 2 method marks for no or insufficient working if you just got to this stage. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths.